My name is Stella Moore. I'm 31 years old, a pediatric nurse at Trinity Children's Hospital in a peaceful small town called Oak Ridge, Colorado. From the outside, people often say I'm living the dream. A stable job, a happy home, and a husband anyone would admire. But perhaps they only see what I allow them to see. Ethan Moore and I met when we were both students at Denver University. Ethan is 2 years older than me, a man with handsome features, confident eyes, and a warm, deep voice that made my young heart race back then. After 11 years together, 8 of them married, I once believed I had found my lifelong companion. Ethan, a successful real estate developer, was once named to a local magazine's top young entrepreneurs under 40 list. In the eyes of friends and family, he was the ideal husband, charming, intelligent, and ambitious. We lived in our dream home in the Willow Creek neighborhood where tree-lined streets surrounded wooden houses and vibrant gardens. Our 2-story house had 4 bedrooms and a backyard large enough for weekend barbecues or simply enjoying a quiet afternoon with tea and a book. Every corner of the house was decorated by me, from the wall paint and curtains to the paintings and flower vases on the dining table. I still remember the excitement I felt stepping through that door with Ethan for the first time, when we were struggling to pay every dollar of our mortgage. I told myself then, this would be our solid home, where we would build a complete family. Ethan was gifted at making others feel special. He spoke in a way that made people trust him easily. At company parties, I saw the admiring glances he drew as he confidently spoke about the major projects he was involved in. With neatly cut black hair, a well-fitted suit, and a charming smile, he always became the center of attention without even trying. As for me, I was content with my role. I was the one behind the scenes, the one planning the parties, preparing dinner when he came home late, remembering every anniversary and all of Ethan's little preferences. My work at the hospital kept me busy, but I never let it affect our family life. I was proud that I could balance my career and our home, long shifts and cozy dinners with my husband. Every time I heard Ethan introduce me to colleagues, "This is Stella, the person who makes everything in my life perfect," my heart filled with simple happiness. To outsiders, we were the model couple. Ethan was successful, I was devoted. His family and my friends often said we were made for each other. Ethan was a caring husband who never forgot flowers on our anniversaries, and often texted me sweet notes during his packed meetings. Every morning he would kiss my forehead before leaving, and his gentle good morning wish was always the first thing I heard when I woke up. We used to think that the hardest challenges our marriage would face were my exhaustion from night shifts or Ethan's stress from overloaded projects. But I was wrong. Behind the perfect smile and elegant parties, behind the praise and successful contracts, was something I had never dared imagine. If someone had asked me, "Stella, did you ever doubt Ethan?" I probably would have shaken my head because at that time, Ethan was the most trustworthy person in my world. But life has its unexpected turns, and the way it began was cruel and more silent than any scenario I had ever pictured. Everything started changing quietly, so quietly that at first I didn't even notice. Ethan remained the courteous husband in front of everyone, but somewhere between peaceful evenings and sunny weekend mornings, he was no longer the man I once loved. The first signs were small. Ethan started coming home later. At first I didn't think much of it. He said work was at a critical stage, that his real estate projects needed closer supervision. I believed him. How could I not believe when for all those years Ethan was the man I proudly called my husband? But then the late nights became more frequent, from once or twice a week to nearly every evening. Some nights he came home when the clock had struck 11 p.m., his clothes disheveled, the scent of unfamiliar perfume clinging to his shirt, definitely not the cologne he usually wore. I began to sense something was wrong. Every time I gently asked, "Are you tired? Is work going okay?" Ethan would just give a faint smile and say, "Just a few long meetings, don't worry." But the way he smiled, the way he avoided my gaze, chilled my heart bit. One evening, as I folded Ethan's shirt after doing the laundry, my hands froze. On the collar of that crisp white shirt was a faint red lipstick stain, nothing like the natural shade I wore. It wasn't the kind of mark you could mistake. It was clear, haunting, so much so that I had to sit down on the bed, gripping the fabric as if I could crush the rising doubt inside me. I tried to reassure myself. Maybe it was from a female colleague by accident. Maybe a rushed goodbye after a meeting, but deep down a quiet voice echoed, "Stella, stop lying to yourself." From that day, I paid closer attention. Every time Ethan came home, he rushed straight to the shower, as if something needed to be washed away before he faced me. I asked, and he said, "I feel sticky from the construction site dust. I need to shower to feel comfortable." Once I walked into the garage when Ethan was on the phone. He jumped, quickly ended the call, then pretended to be busy with the car. His phone was never out of his reach, even in the bathroom. Whenever I got close, he placed it face down on the table, his fingers lightning quick to close whatever app was open. Our quiet evenings together became rare luxuries. Ethan started using tiredness as an excuse to avoid hugs, the hand-holding he once gave me after a long day. He grew irritable for no reason, criticizing my meals as lacking creativity, suggesting I should take more care of myself instead of wearing the same old clothes around the house. Every word felt like a small blade, carving wounds in my heart that he didn't even bother to see. I still remember that afternoon clearly. I went grocery shopping and accidentally found a receipt in Ethan's pants pocket that he had left in the car. A receipt from an upscale restaurant in the city, the kind we'd never gone to together. On it was dinner for two, with an expensive bottle of wine. The receipt was dated 3 days earlier, the exact night Ethan said he had to stay at the office to handle urgent project files. My heart pounded. My hands shook so much I nearly dropped that tiny piece of paper. I asked myself, if not me, then who was sharing that dinner with him? That night, when Ethan came home, I pretended to be asleep. In the dim light, I saw him stand silently by the bed for quite a while, then sigh and turn away. I heard his phone vibrate softly on the table. A message came in. I couldn't help it. I peeked with one eye. A short line appeared on the screen. "I miss you. When will we have a night like that again?" I lay there, my heart twisting, not knowing when the tears had started to fall. Ethan's reply didn't come out in words, but his shoulders trembled slightly, as if he was struggling with himself. Or was it simply fear? I used to think Ethan was the person I knew best, but the more I looked at him in that moment, the more I realized I didn't know him at all. An invisible distance was growing between us, wider with each passing day, and I, with all my sincere love, couldn't hold on to him. That evening, when Ethan hurried out of the house again with the excuse of an urgent client meeting, I sat alone in the living room, silent in the house that had once been our home but now felt strangely cold. I didn't know how long I sat there, only hearing the ticking of the wall clock echoing, as if reminding me of each second of a truth slowly coming to light. When I got up to tidy the stack of papers Ethan had left on the table, I accidentally saw a small slip of paper fall from the jacket he had tossed over the chair. A small card with an elegant floral border, handwritten in soft but confident script. "Thank you for a wonderful weekend. I can't wait for the day we can be together without hiding. Love you." I held the card in my hand, feeling as if I had just touched a cold, sharp blade. All the doubts I had harbored seemed to have found their answer. No more smudged lipstick marks, no more stray receipts or long nights without laughter. This was the undeniable proof. Ethan wasn't just lost in a moment of weakness. He was living a different life behind my back. I didn't cry. Instead, a feeling both painful and cold spread through my body. I knew what I had to do. As a nurse, I had always been trained to stay clear-headed in any situation, whether in pain or panic, and this time I was determined to face the truth in the way I knew best, with care and precision. That night, while Ethan was still out, I opened my laptop. I started with the most familiar places, his social media. Ethan was usually private but not invisible. On Facebook, he mainly shared about work. But I noticed the photos he was tagged in: company parties, community events. A face appeared repeatedly in recent photos that caught my attention. A woman with golden hair, a bright smile, and confident eyes. I clicked on her profile, Kendra Sullivan, interior designer, owner of Sullivan Designs, specializing in high-end real estate projects. And most notably, she was married. Her husband was Dylan Sullivan, a well-known lawyer in Denver. My heart tightened as I scrolled through each picture Kendra had posted. A party at an upscale restaurant. The same time Ethan claimed to be on a business trip. A project survey trip at a resort far from the city. The same time Ethan said he was in overnight meetings. Each detail was like a puzzle piece slowly forming a clear picture of betrayal before my eyes. I didn't stop there. I remembered Ethan had a desktop computer in his office, always locked when he wasn't home. But I also knew where he hid the key. In his old document box in the basement, where I had once helped him organize when we moved in. With trembling hands but determined eyes, I opened that door at midnight. In the soft glow of the computer screen, I took a deep breath and guessed the password. And he himself had given me the answer. Our wedding date. What he once said was the happiest day of his life. Maybe to him now, it was just an easy number to remember. Evidence appeared in front of me. Hotel booking confirmation emails, receipts for dinners at fancy restaurants, jewelry purchase slips. But not for me. His browser history was filled with searches for luxury gifts, high-end spas, none of which ever reached me. A hidden file on the desktop caught my attention. Meeting notes, K. I opened it, nearly breathless as I saw inside a detailed schedule of his so-called client meetings. In reality, private dates with Kendra. As the first rays of sunlight streamed through the curtains, I sat motionless in the office, surrounded by papers, emails, and stray receipts. Everything was clear now. Kendra wasn't just a business partner. She was the woman Ethan had given his time, money, and passion to. Things that should have belonged only to me. But instead of breaking down, a different fire burned quietly inside me. I had to see this through. I had to know the full truth, not just for myself, but to make sure Ethan never deceived anyone again. His game had begun, and now it was my turn. After that night, I knew I couldn't go on pretending nothing had happened. The pieces of Ethan and Kendra's deception were far too clear, but I wasn't the type to rush into confrontation without being fully prepared. If Ethan had spent months building his perfect play, I would take my time to expose it, with finesse and undeniable proof. The next morning, as Ethan left the house in his sharp suit with that fake smile on his lips, I picked up the phone and called Elena Rivera, a private investigator recommended by a colleague at the hospital. Elena had been a detective before opening her own agency. Her voice on the phone was calm and steady. "I understand, Stella. Send me everything you have. I'll take care of the rest." I met Elena at a small cafe on the outskirts of town. I laid out all the documents I had collected, receipts, screenshots, Kendra's handwritten note. Elena glanced through them and nodded. "You've done better than most people I've worked with. Now we need proof no one can deny. Photos, schedules, exact locations." "I'll start tonight." Hearing her words, I felt a strange sense of calm. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena worked with remarkable precision. Every 2 days, she sent me an update. Photos of Ethan and Kendra hand in hand entering a boutique hotel in Denver. Receipts for dinners at restaurants not on Ethan's client list. Pictures of them leaving a resort more than 3 hours' drive from the city, exactly when Ethan said he had meetings with partners. Each piece of evidence was like a nail sealing the coffin of the trust I had once given him. When everything was ready, I knew it was time for the show to end. I thought of a way for the truth to be revealed, not just in a private confrontation, but as a shock no one could ignore. And then, the plan formed in my mind. A dinner party. I spoke up one morning as Ethan was drinking coffee, his eyes glued to his phone screen. "Honey, I think we should invite your partners and their families over for dinner this weekend. It's been so long since we hosted anything." Ethan looked startled, as if he hadn't expected me to suggest it. Sure. Who do you think we should invite?" I gave a gentle smile. "How about Sam Harper and his wife? You always say Sam thinks highly of you, and I like them too. And, if you want, let's invite Kendra. You've mentioned her so many times in your work." Ethan nodded, trying to act natural, but his hand tightened visibly around the coffee cup. I pretended not to notice. In my mind, I had already reached out to Sam Harper, Ethan's longtime partner. Sam eagerly accepted the invitation and even mentioned that week his wife's younger brother, Dylan Sullivan, would be staying at their house during a business trip to Denver. Dylan Sullivan, Kendra's legal husband. It was as if the universe had arranged everything for me. I texted Elena, "The plan begins." On the day of the dinner, I'd prepared everything with a level of care Ethan could never have anticipated. The long dining table in the formal dining room was meticulously arranged by me. I placed Ethan at the head of the table, Kendra to his right, close enough that their glances and subtle gestures could easily be noticed. Dylan sat across from Kendra, with Sam and his wife on either side of me. Every seat, every distance, was planned like a chessboard. That evening, I wore the classic blue dress that Ethan once said made me look like a goddess when we first married. This time, I wore it not to make him proud, but to remind him how much the woman who once stood by his side had loved him. When Kendra walked into the house with Ethan, her smile was radiant, as if she were the true hostess. Her gaze swept past me, then froze when she saw Dylan standing there, holding a glass of wine, nodding in greeting. For a moment, her face turned pale, and Ethan looked as if all the blood had drained from his face. I welcomed the guests with polite warmth, silently counting the seconds until their charade crumbled before everyone. The door had just opened when Kendra walked in with the confident posture of a woman accustomed to admiration. Her golden hair fell loosely, her face perfectly made up, and her smile was a mix of pride and provocation, as if the entire evening was her private stage. The deep red dress clung to her body, drawing every gaze in the room in an instant, including Ethan, who looked both tense and lost. Kendra reached out her hand, smiling sweetly. "Stella, I'm so glad to finally meet you. Ethan talks about you all the time." I took her hand, my smile gentle but my gaze unyielding. "It's an honor that you made time for our family dinner." In that moment, Kendra's eyes flicked to Dylan, her legal husband, standing beside Sam with a wineglass in hand. Her smile faltered for a brief second, then was quickly replaced with a look of surprise. "Dylan, you're here?" Dylan raised an eyebrow, his voice calm but full of meaning. "Why so surprised, Kendra? Sam invited me." "You knew I was staying with them, didn't you?" I watched the two betrayers like a director behind the stage, seeing every flicker of panic in their eyes as their own performance began to collapse. The meal started with an obvious stiffness. I played the gracious hostess, asking about each guest, offering wine, chatting as if unaware of the storm brewing beneath the surface. Sam and his wife remained cheerful, oblivious to the tension that flickered across the table. Dylan stayed silent, observing, the sharp eyes of a lawyer missing nothing in his wife's behavior. When the appetizer was served, I tilted my head slightly. "Kendra, I've heard you're very successful in interior design. May I ask which company you're with now?" Kendra forced a smile. "Oh, I freelance, take on projects through partnerships. It's more flexible." Dylan frowned slightly. "I thought you said you were officially collaborating with the firm in Denver. That's why we moved here so quickly, remember?" The air grew heavy. Kendra bit her lip, her eyes darting to Ethan. Then she shifted the topic. "Actually, I do a bit of everything to build connections." I followed gently, my voice light. "Ethan is so lucky to have a partner who's both beautiful and talented supporting his projects. He told me you've contributed many ideas recently, isn't that right?" Ethan swallowed hard, his hand clenching the wineglass. Kendra occasionally offers some suggestions, nothing formal." Sam looked surprised. "Really? I thought you said you were working closely with a new designer. So it's not Kendra?" Kendra and Ethan exchanged glances, panic now clearly visible in their eyes. Dylan leaned on the table, his voice low and firm. "I think I need to hear more about these late-night meetings, these sudden business trips. Funny how they always line up with the times Kendra says she has to work late." I stood up, calmly walked to the side table where I had prepared a file. "I think it's time we were honest. If I may, I'd like to share some information I believe everyone here should see." I gently opened the file, pulling out photos, receipt copies, and evidence Alina had helped me gather. One by one, I laid them out on the table, in front of everyone. Photos of Ethan and Kendra hand in hand entering a boutique hotel. Room booking receipts for a luxury resort 3 hours drive from Denver. Dinner receipts for romantic evenings on the very nights Ethan claimed to be in meetings. Each document was like a blow to the mask they had tried so hard to keep on since the evening began. Dylan looked at each piece of evidence, his face turning to ice. He picked up a photo, his voice rough. "Kendra, do you have anything to say? Is this the boss you told me about?" Kendra's face went pale, her eyes filled with tears, and she stammered, "Dylan, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say." Ethan started to speak, but I looked him straight in the eye, my voice not loud but enough to silence him. "Don't say sorry. I don't need it. What I need is the truth, and it's right there on the table." Sam and his wife sat in stunned silence, unable to believe what was unfolding. The dinner meant to foster business connections had become a bitter exposure. I took a deep breath, feeling a lightness in every cell of my body. The truth had spoken, and there was no place left to hide. After that fateful evening, everything collapsed at the speed of a storm. Dylan left my house that very night, taking with him the file of evidence I handed him. The look he gave Kendra then held no trace of love, only deep disappointment and the resolve of a man who knew what he had to do. Just 2 days later, I heard that Dylan had changed all the locks on their house in Denver and filed for divorce along with a criminal complaint for embezzlement. As a seasoned lawyer, Dylan knew exactly what he needed to do to protect his honor and assets. He brought the case into the open, worked with investigators, and provided all the evidence from the documents I had shared, along with the fake invoices he found after reviewing his wife's company accounts. Kendra had no chance to explain herself. When the police searched her office, they uncovered numerous fake records, fraudulent invoices, and evidence of illegal money transfers. The embezzled amount was determined to be nearly $80,000. Enough to make her the most notorious financial criminal in Denver that year. News of the case spread quickly across local papers. The press didn't hesitate to label the scandal the most infamous affair and embezzlement of the year. As for Ethan, he couldn't escape the consequences of the destruction he had caused. Sam Harper, who had once treated Ethan like a brother, didn't need a long confrontation. After that evening, Sam announced the end of all business partnerships. He skillfully but firmly removed Ethan from every joint project to protect the company's reputation from further damage. Other partners, hearing the news, quickly cut ties too, afraid of being linked to a scandal of ethics and fraud. In just 1 month, Ethan fell from a respected businessman to a disgraced betrayer who lost both reputation and career. His office downsized and employees left one by one, unwilling to be caught up in the fallout. The mansion that had once been his pride became a financial burden no one could bear. As for me, I moved through it all with a clarity and determination I hadn't known I had. The divorce happened faster than I expected. Ethan didn't dare fight for anything because he knew I held all the evidence and he had no power left to negotiate. I kept our original house in Willow Creek, but only so I could sell it. Every brick, every room there, only reminded me of the years I had lived in illusion. I sold the house and used the money to buy a small but cozy apartment on a high floor of a modern building in the heart of the city. My new apartment looked out over a lush green park, with a small balcony just big enough for a few pots of flowers. Every piece of furniture was chosen by me, from the jade green armchair to the simple white porcelain dishes. Every morning, waking to see the sunlight fill the room, I knew I had begun an entirely new life. A life where I was in control of every choice. Kendra was arrested on a Monday morning, just as she stepped out of her defense lawyer's office. The images flooded the news, the once proud and confident face now bowed, her eyes panicked, her hands tightly cuffed. By then no one stood up for her. Her company was shut down, her assets frozen for investigation and to compensate the victims. Ethan tried to reach out, sending messages begging for a chance to talk, hoping I would give him the opportunity to explain. But I didn't need to hear anything more. Every word he had ever said had lost all meaning. When we signed the divorce papers at the lawyer's office, he looked at me, his eyes red, whispering, "I never wanted it to end like this." My voice calm. "You didn't want it, but you did it. And now you have to live with it, the way I lived with the pain you caused." 3 months later, I leaned against the balcony railing of my new apartment, sipping hot tea as I gazed at the city lights. My life no longer had Ethan in it, no longer burdened by hollow expectations. I returned to the hospital working with all my passion and focus. My colleagues saw me stronger, more confident. The department head offered me the role of shift coordinator for pediatrics, a position I had once thought beyond me, and this time, I was ready to embrace it. I understood that sometimes the cruelties of life open the door to a better one. In the time after that ordeal, I thought I would fall apart, but strangely, with each passing day, I felt reborn. No more long nights waiting for the sound of keys in the door, no more mornings waking with the weight of doubt. Each day, I began by reminding myself, Stella, this is your life, you deserve happiness. My work at Trinity Children's Hospital became my greatest anchor. I poured my heart into every shift, every child I cared for. Every word of comfort I offered to anxious parents outside the room. Perhaps the pain I had endured helped me connect more deeply with the losses and fears of others. I was calmer in emergencies, more decisive in handling complex cases. My colleagues began to look at me differently, no longer the devoted nurse behind the scenes, but the leader they trusted when the unexpected happened. 3 months after that fateful night, the department head called me into her office. Dr. Laura Perkins, the woman who had guided me through my early years, looked at me with an encouraging smile. Stella, I know you've been through so much, but what you've shown lately has truly impressed me. The department needs a new head nurse, and I want you to take the role. Are you ready? I looked at her, my heart filling with indescribable emotion. I had once thought I wasn't strong enough, once feared I would always be someone's shadow. But now I understood. I was ready. Thank you. I'll give it my all. The new role brought more challenges, but it also helped me truly find myself. Each shift, I wasn't just following orders. I was making decisions, coordinating the team, staying calm when the ER turned chaotic. I learned to trust myself, to look in the mirror each morning and smile at the woman growing stronger every day. What surprised me most was that after that night of exposure, I gained true friends. Maria Harper, Sam's wife, once Ethan's partner, reached out to me just a week after that evening. The call started as a check-in, but we soon met up. Over coffee, Maria said directly, I admire how you handled everything. I don't think I'd have been that brave in your place. If you ever need anything, please think of me as a friend. Don't hesitate. From those short meetings, we became each other's support. Maria helped me see things more lightly, and I gave her a different perspective on the resilience a woman can have when pushed into hardship. Not long after, Dylan Sullivan, the man who had also been betrayed, reached out. At first it was just about documents and procedures. Then gradually, we shared encouragement, helping each other through tough times. We didn't dwell on the past because we both knew those wounds were quiet reminders, not stories to reopen. Dylan, with his calm and understanding nature, became a trusted companion on the path to rebuilding. A network of people who had known pain, who had fallen but learned to rise, slowly formed around me. We didn't complain. We didn't dwell in regret. We shared ordinary stories, small future plans. A weekend trip, a cooking class Maria invited me to join, or just quiet afternoons together, watching the city light up. Now, standing on my balcony, I no longer see myself as a former wife or someone who was betrayed. I am the head nurse of a major hospital's pediatric department, a woman independent in the life she chose, someone who has learned to love herself after all the wreckage. I no longer fear long nights alone, because I know inside me is a steady strength waiting to rise. And when I look in the mirror each morning, I no longer see the woman who lived for the role of a wife. I see a woman who is independent, confident, and strong. Someone who will never let anyone else define her worth again. Looking back, I understand that sometimes the most painful upheavals are the turning points that help us find ourselves. I am no longer the woman who strained to hold together a marriage built on lies. Now I live for myself, own every decision, and cherish the value and freedom I deserve. The old wounds have closed, making room for a Stella who is strong, confident, and happy with the new life I once thought impossible after all that heartache. What do you think about Stella's story and how she overcame the pain to rebuild her life? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more emotional family stories to come.